And we're back. I don't know. Are we back, Mike?
We're back.
I'm allowed to speak again?
Well, yeah, we just had to get a little word in about our good friends at Blue Owl Capital.
I get it. I understand. What a professional producer Mike is. All right. We know top of the draw is going to be Jannik Sinner. Cards on the table. It's going to be tough for me to pick against him on a hard court as well. We just talked about Sabalenka. He did the same thing last year. Won 7 tournaments, only lost 6 matches total. Winning in Australia, winning whenever the surface wasn't super slippery, whether it was clay or grass or whatever. To take my first look at the draw, not the easiest first round as I look down. Nicholas Jarry, Wertheim loves this guy. Didn't you pick him to like win 6 Roland Garroses just last year?
I think it was only 5. He really came through with that first round defeat off the bat.
That was a terrible call.
29 years old now? Can that be right? I looked up the head-to-head. It's 1-1, and then I said, but it was when Jannik Sinner was like 11. It was like 5 years ago, so don't read too much into that. Not an ideal first rounder for Sinner, but he'll get a proper opponent, and he'll likely get through.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at this section, a lot of big names. It's just we've gotten to the point with Sinner where even if it's an insanely tough matchup, you can't really choose against him at this point. He's gotten to that level where if he's playing well, a lot of times the matchup is a little bit more irrelevant, right? Like it's not as if, he's playing well, but this will really get under his skin. This will really bother him. Even if it does, it seems like he can. I think of the matchup against Berrettini last year at Wimbledon first round, where it's like that could be the worst draw in the entire tournament. And he went out, handled his business, even with everything circling that we didn't really know about at the time. Sinner is going to be, Rune is the 13 seed. I don't think he gets there. I think I like Matteo Berrettini, Cam Norrie first round. That is a popcorn match. Norrie got in trouble. Didn't he hit a fan in Auckland? I like Cam. I love Cam Norrie. I think he's a workhorse. I have nothing but respect for what he does. And he did not get defaulted in that. Am I correct? Techie Sean, is that what you said?
I don't believe so.
So like you can't throw a racket or hit a ball and hit a fan and not get defaulted. I hate this where there's no clarity on this rule. Right? Novak gets defaulted
he's from
in the
New
US
Zealand,
Open.
though. Isn't the rule it's like Mickelson in Winston-Salem. If you're from the home country, don't you get a pass?
Only if you play for Great Britain.
Right. No, he was for the record, he was very apologetic.
Which he's a good dude. Like, of course he would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Hurkacz. I'm taking Hubie through. We got a bunch of matches at United Cup to varying levels of success, but has played using a Wilson racket now. Sinner against Hubie. Do you have someone else against Sinner? And I'm assuming Sinner's is getting through to the third round at least. JW.
This is the year of Holger Rune. His boat is, the engine stalled out last year, and it was sort of puttering in the fjords of Denmark, and now he's ready for action.
But why? You just wanted to use the word fjord.
I just wanted to use the word puttering. I think I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge Hurkacz believer. Just when matches tighten, he tends to tighten with it. I don't know.
Is Berrettini going to get through? Like, do you like Berrettini over Rune second round? He plays double Z first round. Like Rune has a brutal draw, and he hasn't been playing well early this year.
21 years old, fresh legs. He's got the wisdom in the coaching box. I don't know. He's too good a player to lose this early in a major, isn't he?
No, he's proven he's not, especially on hard. He hasn't won a match like hardly ever at the U.S. Open. No. You take Rune. You got Rune. You can have him.
The good thing about this show is we actually get, we're making silly predictions, but we'll get some answers in a few days.
Some of us are. All right, let's go. Let's go to the next one. Tsitsipas, Alex Mickelson. Uh-oh.
Ooh, what's that noise I hear? What's that beeping?
Hype horn? Yeah. That one, I'm gonna just put a little.
Is that gonna be our upset horn?
Little circle
That sounds
around
like Adrian
that one.
Brody when he did that ill-advised Rasta skit. They got him kicked off Saturday Night Live. Yeah, we need an upset horn. It's beeping. I think Mickelson's got a real chance here.
I do too. I don't know if I'm completely committed yet, but I am looking real hard at it. Hatchinoff. I think I'm going upset special. The game's better when Steph is playing well. The speed of the court and the reports of the speed of the court are stressing me out a little bit. I'm going to go Mickelson, and this is probably just a homer pick if we're being honest, but he played well. I think he made the quarters. Auckland losing to our new favorite player, who John will talk about in a little bit, from Stanford. I like Alex Mickelson through. In the next section, Cerundolo, Bublik, Demon's going to like. Okay, well, that makes it simple. I'm going to go Demon. With the Cerundolo section, Van de Zandschulp. I mean, no one wants to play Van de Zandschulp first round at a major, do they? Or second round at a major?
So the guy who beat Carlos Alcaraz at
correct.
the U.S. Open, but it's hard to pick against Alex de Minaur in this little pocket, isn't it?
Berg still making a run the week before. Demon, I have Demon and Sinner in the last 8. Does that make sense to you at all?
Unfortunately, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Over Holger Rune? No Rune to beat Sinner upset from you, huh?
I mean, weirdly, if Holger gets there, he can actually, maybe he has the upside there, but he's got to get through 2 really tough matches to even have a shot. Like legit hard. Yeah. No, I'm. Nope. Sinner and Demon. Next one's interesting. Taylor Fritz and Jensen Brooksby.
I think if you remember the U.S. Open a few years ago, Taylor Fritz had to play Tracy's son, Brandon Holt, in the first round, and it seemed to get in his head that he was playing a fellow American. It was a match he was supposed to win. He knew the guy's game. He didn't have much animosity. This is someone he knew quite well from Southern California. It did not. It did not lead to Taylor Fritz's best tennis, and he lost that match. I don't know. Maybe there's some similar vibes here. He'd rather play someone from a different country or someone a little more obscure. He knows Brooksby's game well, but Taylor Fritz has been so good. And keep in mind, he's coming off reaching a major, reaching the final at his previous major. I think Taylor Fritz breezes through this match and breezes through week 1.
Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. Time out. I'm not going to let you get away with that easily, because your guy is sitting there waiting for Taylor Fritz. Petchy Pericard. Don't just gloss over that shit like you haven't been singing about this guy for the last couple of months. You like Fritz over Pericard.
I hate to say this. Yeah, you're going to give me shit for this. Pericard, by the way, number 7 with the odds makers. You think people haven't taken notice of this guy all of a sudden. But I worry about best of 5. And you can serve great for an hour. Look at Monfils' results so far this year. As we speak, he is in the Auckland semis, has actually played really well defensively. I don't think this is I don't think this first round match, Monfils against Pericard, is a gimme. And then, yeah, if you're giving me Taylor Fritz in a best of 5 match with his experience and his sort of tennis IQ against a guy who's just serving bombs, I love Pericard. I think it's a lot more than serve botting, but I don't think Taylor Fritz is going to get upset by this kid. Do you?
The matchup's awkward because Taylor likes rhythm. He likes to be able to kind of be the enforcer. I'll tell you this much. It's not the draw that Taylor Fritz wanted to see, because a lot of it's going to be out of his control, right? Like when you're playing these monsters, it's going to get to 4 or 5 all in a breaker. I think you have to give a tip of the cap. I'm taking Fritz. I'm not choosing the upset. I just think less of you because you didn't. Is all.
Best of 5, man.
He didn't
changes
really
everything.
Well, but the part that it's like he goes, I'll take Fritz to the 3rd or 4th round without even mentioning his guy, like as if we were gonna like gloss over the fact that Petchy Pericard's his guy, and we weren't gonna at least acknowledge that, right?
Wait, I thought you would have said 38-year-old Gael Monfils. They're countrymen, 2 different generations. Gael's playing great.
Great. That's super. But Gael is not the guy that you're talking about as the breakout star of 2025.
What about number 7 with the odds?
Are you gonna wait? Do you? Okay, hold on.
Are you committing?
We're spending too much time on this, but I can't. Sorry, Mike, I can't lay off of this. So you've mentioned Monfils. Are you taking Petchy Pericard to even get to Fritz? Or you have Monfils upset special?
I think he gets to Fritz. I'm just saying this guy. I mean, look, I love this guy, and some of this is probably just emotional more than anything. I don't think a 20-year-old in best of 5 matches playing a very tough first rounder is a guy who's going to take out Taylor Fritz.
You know my kid's favorite thing to eat for breakfast is on school days?
What?
Waffles. It's waffles.
Oh,
all right. Ben Shelton, Brandon Nakashima.
Flip-flop.
This is no, they wear flip-flops while eating waffles.
What's that sound I hear?
Oh, is he doing it? Yeah. Hype horn. Shelton Nakashima. Are you doing it?
Yep.
Wow.
I am.
He's doing Nakashima over Shelton. Shelton loses first round of his warm-up event. So Nakashima, and then you look at, I don't think, some really, really good players. Bautista Agut, Chapo, Arnaldi, Musetti playing well out of the gate this year. Do you have Nakashima to play Fritz, or do you have Musetti to play? Yes?
No. I'm all in on Nakashima.
Gosh, you know what Wertheim does?
Flip-flops?
Well, but when you take an upset, you ride that upset like 3 rounds. Like you won't, for the life of you won't take Nakashima to upset Shelton and then have Nakashima lose to Musetti. Which
by the way, that's completely counter to what statistically happens so often, which is, Van de Zandschulp beats Carlos Alcaraz and then barely shows up for his next match. But no, I think Nakashima's only a few spots away from getting seeded, so it's really unfortunate for Shelton anyway. But I think Nakashima. I'm a Nakashima believer. We need to shorten this. We need a portmanteau, but I'm a Nakashima believer.
Yeah, he's been great. He had a great summer last year. I like Fritz out of the section. I like Musetti.
Wait, so who did you take, Shelton or Nakashima?
I'm gonna take Shelton just because he didn't, and that's fun. But I think his concern for Shelton in this matchup early in the season, I think Nakashima gets some help on his forehand side when the court's a little bit quicker. I think it's not going to stress him at all on the backhand side. Great two-hander, is strong enough to knock down Shelton's serve. Shelton's played well here. He likes these conditions. If it gets hot next week, that is a huge benefit to Ben Shelton. Like the heat, his ball jumping off the court. I'm going to take Shelton. I'm going to have Musetti to get to Fritz only because of that Nakashima matchup, right? It's a bit of a hedge. I think Musetti is more likely to be there than Shelton, but I think Shelton's going to have to get through Nakashima and Musetti. I like Musetti's draw to get there a little bit better, even though in a head-to-head matchup, I'd probably take Shelton. So it's a bit of a hedge, but either way, it doesn't matter because I like Fritz getting through that section. All right. Next one. Ooh, this is it. This is the one. This is what I've been waiting for. Love Rublev. Tip of the cap. Has been a monster of the game for a while. But here it is, Fonseca. I have randoms texting me about Fonseca. Like people that are kind of tennis fans going, like his name is kind of, and by randoms, I mean producer Mike. It's just, he is one of those names where you expect him to have a 5 next to his name at some point in the next 2 or 3 years at a major. I think he's that good. I am taking Fonseca first round against Rublev. Are you taking Rublev, or is the excitement too much for you, JW?
No, can I go on a 30-second rant here? This guy is, everyone has identified this guy as a talent. It's from a part of the world that, frankly, we could use some more tennis talent from. There hasn't really been a lot of Brazilian talent since Guga. He goes and he wins in Jeddah, the next gen final. And what do? Tennis makes him qualify for the next event. So he doesn't have a 5 next to his name. He has a Q next to his name. What does that mean? It means he's not only crossed oceans, but has played in a lot of tennis. And I worry, young kid, he's already had to play 3 matches, the tons of talent. Everyone's talking about him. Can you not give him a wild card? And now he comes and he plays a seed with 6 sets under his belt. I don't know.
Fully disagree.
You disagree?
Fully disagree. If your ranking hasn't gotten you in, he played all last year. He was healthy all that. You don't get a free pass because of
the next gen. Wouldn't it be nice if the next gen winner, the young talent you've identified as the future star, gets an automatic in instead of some Aussie who's herding goats during the year?
So you just take it away from an Aussie player because it happens to be the first Grand Slam of the year?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, not 100.
I mean, I actually like
What
that.
other
I think it would make the next gen, like winning the next gen, even bigger.
Fine. I think it's
Exactly.
great, but there has to be. What are you giving the Australian Open for that? Like the ATP doesn't run the Australian Open. There is a very clear and very talked about divide between the tours and the slams. The tours have exactly no leverage over the slams in any decision making. So how does this actually get done past like
prospect,
past like
hot
Easter
teenage
bunny?
Prospect everyone's talking about is more deserving if wild cards
that's not the conversation.
Players a boost and all right, whatever. Let's not go down. But my point is, I wish this guy didn't have to qualify for the main draw, because now I worry what his stamina and durability will be like, especially against a veteran seeded player. So I love this match on paper. I think Rublev gets through a very tired kid.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. The next one, Sonego, Wawrinka. Let's see how many more trips around the tennis sun Stan Wawrinka has. Hopefully it goes well. I like Fonseca either way, but I bet JW's taking Fonseca. How far are you riding the upset? Let's see if I'm right here.
No, I'm not. I would on paper.
Oh,
but
sorry,
I don't
you took
see this
Rublev.
kid
Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't think he's beating Rublev.
Does Francis get through that section over Rublev?
You ever see 30 Rock when they do Liz Lemon?
Yes.
We do Lululemon for Francis. Keep an eye on his attire and his footwear when he makes his debut. I think Francis gets through.
Oh wait, so you got that? So you got that text from Max Eisenbud too?
Let's continue on, shall we? I think Francis.
Oh, I can't wait till I can see the smirk
Francis
now.
in his new attire gets through here.
I like Francis getting through as well. Poprin, Mute, Hijikata, Mitchell Kruger. Good effort. Kruger getting through qualies there. Lernatine, no, he ripped City last year in Challengers. This guy, lefty, can create some speed on the ball. One I don't think Poprin gets through. You like this one? Hijikata getting through to play Medi has started the year pretty well. But obviously I like Medvedev going through to face Francis in this section. You taking anything else, JW?
I don't know where Medvedev, he obviously didn't play any tune-ups, didn't play any exos, and people wondered why. And then he gave us a pretty good alibi, pretty good excused absence there. Congratulations to him, became a father for the second time. I don't know how that will impact his performance. It might be a disguised blessing. He'll get a good night's sleep, and maybe this gives him some head-clearing perspective. Former finalist, I like Medvedev to get through here. You mentioned Lernatine, though.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't play any warm-up tournaments last year and was a set away from winning the tournament. So I'm not worried about reps for Medvedev. Not many people have gotten more over the last 5 years than he has. I like Medvedev. I just have a hard time picking against him best of five. I love Francis. I love Francis more in majors than I do, the other however many weeks out of the year. But I like Medvedev. I like Fritz to get to the semis, and I jumped the gun, but here we are. That's what I like. We'll get back to that. We'll get back to the quarter matchups here in a second. Novak Djokovic, and can you pronounce Bazaveretti? I've been exploded onto the scene in Auckland this week, and at least the semis, and who knows when you listen to this, might be even further. Give me a little bit of backstory on the man that will take on Novak Djokovic first round.
Great story. 19-year-old Southern Californian, nice backhand. He's working a lot with Rajiv Ram, and he was a very fine college player at Stanford not long ago, a few months ago, and said, you know what, maybe we'll give this pro tour, maybe we'll give this a shot. And he proved to be Basaveretti, as it were. You can edit that out. No, he's won a lot of matches, made the next gen, just beat Alex Mickelson. He beat Tabilo also in Auckland. 19 years old, really talented kid. Not a huge ball striker, but hits bigger than he is. I think he's only about maybe 5'10", 5'11", a buck 50, but actually plays pretty big. This is a real talent, and he's very close to the top 100 already. Do I think he's going to give this guy was a Stanford undergrad taking like engineering classes a few weeks ago, and now he gets to play Novak Djokovic first round of the Australian Open. It's keep an eye on this kid. I don't think he's necessarily giving Novak much of a match, but it's been a really exciting few weeks for him.
Yeah, but if you're Ram and you're in his corner, at least you can bank on the fact that Novak hasn't had much success at the Australian Open over the years.
Right. Historically, it's been a bit of an Achilles heel for Novak Djokovic because some years he didn't win.
It's tough. He's lost to like at least 3 people there over the years. Anyways, I like Novak through the section. One thing that we talk about, and it's weird that it's coming back up because we spent some time on the Opelka Novak matchup in our last show that came out Tuesday. I was going to say last week, but it was just a couple days ago. And I made the point, 3 out of 5 sets changes everything. And so I think Opelka Novak, assuming Riley is somewhat healthy, I think he gets through that section. But Mahach is so good. That Mahach Opelka matchup is either one of those guys. Wouldn't surprise you if they were in the semis of a slam at some point. I feel like Mahach is going to be maybe top 10 this year. Who knows how that shakes out? It doesn't. I'd take Novak either way, but 3 out of 5 sets matters. And you mentioned it, big servers over the course of 4 or 5 hours in the day. How much less likely is Opelka to pull off upset special against Novak 3 out of 5 sets versus 2 out of 3 sets in a covered indoor court where the serve sounds, it pops, the toss is always in the right spot. You're not having to throw it up to avoid the sun. All of those factors we might see in real time that we gave some time 2-3 days ago, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that's why we're as happy as we are for some of these encouraging results. I think that's why we're not reading too much into a Perricard or an Opelka transferring that to deep runs at a best of 5 major.
And then the next section, my sleeper for this year.
That's your boy.
He's not a sleeper anymore.
Why? Because he won Brisbane?
Yeah,
That's a 250. I mean,
he's still a sleeper. Still quality.
Yeah, because
He's seated.
It helps me be self-congratulatory as long as he's still a sleeper. So obviously he's still a sleeper. Okay, so Goffin, Bronzy, Fognini, Dimitrov, in case you wanted to watch an excess of talent on both sides of the net in a first rounder. I obviously can't go against Lehechka here. Like I will pick my sleeper through to lose to I don't know that I can take him over Novak, but I'm telling you, Lehechka can play. Who do you have come out of this section with Dimitrov and Lehechka, or is it a Fognini, or is it a David Goffin?
I think you're selling yourself short. I think Lehechka is. I don't even think it's a close call. And Dimitrov, I don't think is 100% physically.
Okay.
I think Lehechka is getting through this, and I'm not sure this is where his ride ends, but we can get to that in a minute.
Ooh.
So we got Novak and Lehechka matchup. So that's what you're both going with?
That's what we're coming back to.
Nope.
I mean, you want to run this out to the quarters here? You want to do it? Are you going to do it?
I'm going to give you a hot take. CZE is the ITA of 2025. What do I mean by that?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Italy was to last year, the Czech Republic is to this year. This is like a tennis powerhouse. I think Mahach may beat Novak. As crazy as that sounds,
draw for Novak.
And I think Lehechka beats. I think we have CZE, and I think Lehechka's into the quarters.
No, he's not having a seizure. He's talking about the Czechs when he says he's not saying SZA. It's not another Kendrick reference. This is a really tough section for Novak. Uncomfortable matchups. Like Mahach can beat anyone in the world for pace on a given day. Opelka obviously serves from a tree. Lehechka, he's my guy. I think he's going to be borderline top 10 this year. This is tough. And if you look at this section, all the variables, all of these guys not having gone super far, with the exception of Grigor in a slam before, I don't disagree with anything you're saying about the matchups and the potential. But if I look at this section, who is most likely to get through it to the quarterfinals, I think my answer is still Novak. Individual matchups, I'm scared. This is a brutal draw. But if I look at the 4 or 5 players that we think have the potential to get through to that section, I still think if you run a simulation, I still think Novak gets there the most amount of times. And, believe it or not, I assume he feels pretty comfortable on this court when you need both hands to count titles somewhere, and like full use of both hands to count titles somewhere. I'll take Novak through, but I don't disagree with a lot of your takes.
Wait, 30 seconds, real quick. You said Novak on this court,
yeah,
and you're absolutely right. I mean, he has no doubt where he's going to play every single match. How much of an advantage is that?
It's an advantage. I think when you're not having to adjust, because not all courts are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, listen, he's going to walk out of that court and feel like someone gave him a hug. Like, he knows the way it bounces. He knows the way it sounds. He's been in this before. You have a given memory set on a certain court. So, yeah, I think it matters. And none of these players are going to play there before they play him. Right. It's not as if Grigor is playing a top Aussie prospect, or it's not as if, Lehechka is going to play, there before. So it's going to be their first time this year, at least, and probably first time overall for some of them. How much does that matter against an Opelka? Big servers like kind of tight courts. For some reason, it makes the serve feel bigger. If someone can create some space, go back, that matters too. So yeah, I don't think it's a nothing factor. I think we get carried away with a lot of this stuff sometimes, but I think Novak and his track record, that's a great point. As much as I hate to give you credit for it, JW.
Waffle.
Waffle flip-flop. It's like that one section was like, I'm eating an Eggo while wearing Tevas is what that was. Which is maybe a bad combo.
Tevas technically on a flip-flop.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
They're Brazilian, like Fonseca, though, right?
I got caught. I got out of it. Yeah. Technically, you're also right. All right, let's get to the next one. Unless you guys want to hear about footwear. Like, by the way, like, how do we feel about just flip flops in general? Like flip flops on planes. Can we talk about that for a second?
That's disgusting.
Do you guys? Is it as bad? Because it happens a lot. So it's obviously we're not.
Sean, are you a flip-flop guy?
Do you go flip-flop on planes?
He said thumbs down.
Are you no longer working on this podcast?
I was worried he was checking bags and wearing flip-flops.
Dude, he's definitely checking bags. Because he's like flip-flop. He's like, I packed my all-terrain flippers.
He's like wearing like the, what are the ones where you can see people's toes?
Oh, no one wants to see a toe on a plane.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Gross.
When people take a nap and they kick it off and you're staring at some guy's hairy toe.
I don't, God.
Hey, Jack Draper's up.
Which is a natural segue to the Draper section. You're welcome. This is, the section before that we thought was our worst segment ever? I think we just beat it. I think this is it.
This is our first draw of the year too.
How do you think it's going to feel to never win an award?
I mean, we have a shot at something.
At what?
I don't know. There's podcast ones that you can pay to get.
You
can pay to get them.
We're going to have to. That's our only chance. All right. Jack Draper, Navone, Kokkinakis, who pulled out today, Safulin, Sebastian Korda is going to play Tommy Paul in the semis. In the week before, Korda back again. Like, you feel like he's just been stops and starts where he had a lot of momentum, beat Taylor Fritz in Canada last year, had a great run, and then got hurt again and was out for 3 months. The eye test tells me he's top 10. Hasn't quite gotten there yet. The Draper Korda section, who do you like coming out of this section, JW?
Korda at the event his father won about a quarter century ago. No, we had Korda on Tennis Channel playing Davidovich Fokina the other day. It looked like two players almost playing a different sport. I mean, they're close in age, close in ranking, and it was like, I think it was like 2 and 3. Korda looked terrific.
Yep.
And this guy, he's beaten Medvedev in Australia before. Seems healthy. That's always the asterisk. I think Korda's got a real chance to go deep here.
Oh, okay. We'll get to that in a second. But you're not worried about Draper, Kokkinakis second round. I have Draper through to lose to Korda. I don't see a lot of issues to that point. If we go to the next section, Jordan Thompson, who, by the way, a professional, like winning, he just knows how to win matches. He's a high IQ tennis player, doesn't get a lot out of the forehand side, but when you watch him play, you feel like he's always correctly attempting to solve a problem, right? Like I watch his matches, and even if he loses just based on merit, where he's going up against a sinner, at least what he's trying is what I feel the consensus would be on high-level tennis brains in the room. I have a lot of respect for the way that he goes about his business. That being said, Alcaraz, no. Are you Alcaraz Korda in that section?
Yeah.
Are you taking Korda over Alcaraz? Because you had mentioned you
Are we
kind of
jumping
there's
the
a lot.
gun here
There's
on,
no, we're getting to the
crazy
quarter.
time?
We're gonna get to the quarters. So Korda Alcaraz. Are you gonna? I know you look like you want to do something.
Nope. Korda Alcaraz.
Who are you taking?
And then it gets interesting.
Well, it gets interesting if you make a pick on Korda Alcaraz.
I think Korda, provided there are no injuries that flare up in the first week, has a real shot.
So he's gonna have this. He is Lehechka. He's really taking this Czech thing far. It's like even sons of Czech players he thinks are going to break out here. Like
CZE.
God, not to be confused.
I think, wait, seriously, I think we got some memo with the Olympics. I think you have to call it like, I wish Martina were here to correct me. You can't say Czech Republic anymore. It's like Czechia or something like that.
They were saying that. Is my mic still working?
See if that catches on.
It is.
The official, the country now is Czechia.
They were saying on Tennis Channel the other day, and apparently it was correct, and I didn't know what was going on. Okay, so you have Lehechka and Korda in that section.
Just saying.
Interesting. All right, down to the next one. Casper Ruud, Minaur. Ooh, that's a tough one. Ruud, Mensik. I'm going to need a second to think about that one. Second round.
What is that flag next to Mensik's name? Oh, it's a Czech flag.
Oh, so you got him to the final?
Yep. Again, I'm beating Casper. 19 years old, just beat Shelton.
You're
watch
really
that
giving
second round match.
you're giving a lot of credit to the place they were born.
19 years old, just beat Ben Shelton, plays Casper in round 2.
Do you have like a tourism deal that we don't know about?
Jeez. Let's do sports gambling here. Can we gamble in like sushi or something?
So I'll tell you this. I always, and this doesn't mean you're wrong. You're wrong about any of it, but I always would go into like the locker room and I would go in and I'd see like some of the Czech players. Like you come in and if you see someone who's like super, super tan, it's like, oh, they've been in heat. They've been training in conditions that will be similar to Aussie. If I saw a Czech guy walk in and pale as could be, I'm going, that guy hasn't been in heat yet. Honestly, it's like a real thing. But yeah, no, you're going to be great.
So wait, do you have Ruud? Do you have Ruud going over?
I don't know yet. I'm Shang, FAA. Okay, I know what I'm going to do here. I think I agree with him, even though I'm giving him shit. I'm going to go Mensik, FAA. I'm going FAA quarters here.
Whoa.
Yeah. How about that? How about them apples? You got Mensik, of course.
Newly engaged as well, right?
Yes, everyone's. So that means you have him in the final. How? Okay, this
Everyone's
is a good question.
No, because he's not married yet.
This is okay. Well, let's let him tell his own story here. So if you go Czech versus the potential I do effect, is it only after they're married where you put them in a Grand Slam final, or is it does engagements count at all? Is it half? And how do you value just a commitment to lifelong monogamy versus being born with CZE? This is the stuff people want to hear. Go.
We can't get analytics in tennis for like errors versus winners. This is like by orders of magnitude. You're asking too much.
Okay.
I see 29 next to Felix's name is that's an awful big number for a guy a lot of us thought would be winning majors. Be nice to see if he had a nice event here.
So you didn't tell me anything. Okay. So Tabilo going through. All right, Tabilo. I like Tommy. Okay, I said FAA. I meant FAA over Mensik. I like Tommy Paul to the quarters in his section. Watch Kei Nishikori second round. Just made finals in Hong Kong. Plays well on fast courts. Could actually take time away from Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul, unbelievably well-rounded player. Not someone that's going to serve you off the court. So that one I have circled as a potential upset special, but I'm not going to choose against Tommy Paul. Playing Korda, has matches in pre-Aussie Open. So if you have, do you have Paul or Mensik getting through to the quarters in that section, or are you going hype horn on Nishikori over Paul second round.
No, I think, I mean, I look at that pocket for Tommy Paul. This, again, a guy who's been to the semis of this event. I think Tommy Paul has a very nice, what's that show? You ever see that show, Is It Cake? I wouldn't go quite that far to call this a cake. This is a really nice pocket for Tommy Paul, though. Tabilo, the only seed in his little quadrant, just lost to Bassa Berretti. I like Tommy Paul in the Is It Cake pocket. Your kids watch that show, by the way?
Oh, yes. Our kids can't get enough of it.
Can't get enough of it.
All right.
I just had visions of my daughter going, "That's cake! It's cake!" I'm like, and I'm going, "No, it's not." And it was. Anyways, okay. Ugo Humbert. This is hard-hitting stuff. Humbert hasn't quite gotten off to the start he wants this year. Oh, Arthur Fees. Who do you have in the, if we were going, so when you guys have heard before this podcast, we have to say everyone's name correctly, but whenever I went to France, it was Roddick, and I had no say in the matter. So if we were doing, since we're in a gym in America, who do you have in the Humbert Phils section?
I think I'm filling with Phils. Quick hat tip to Habib, the first Lebanese player to ever make a major.
Oh, that's cool.
Main draw.
That's awesome,
right? But I think Artie. I think you're right. By the way, I think we've talked about this before, but it was always like Venus Williams. I'm like, she's only the #1 player in the world, and you can't get her name right. But somehow, like, you mispronounce, Richard instead of Richard Gasquet, and you're a Philistine.
Yeah, if you say Richard Gasquet, it's like you walk the plank.
Right, but I'm saying, but they can say Venus Williams. I'm like, yeah, she's only #1 in the world. Maybe you want to, anyway, yeah, I like Artie.
Why even go that far? That's pretty formal. Just go Art. I might go Art for
Parisian. I like Art.
Yeah. All right. Baez, Kuzo,
another Art.
Fernley, Kyrgios, Zverev. So a lot of question marks here. JW, have you heard any update on Zverev's injury? We undersold that, by the way, last week when we were talking about United Cup. We didn't talk about it, and we should have. This guy is in the tail end of in the finals of a slam, potentially every year. Do we have an update on what's bothering Zverev at all?
I don't. There was a photo. I mean, I'm going off Twitter. This is, we'll be in Santa Monica for a tennis channel, but for the record, we won't be on site, unfortunately, which sort of hampers these kinds of things. I'm going off the same thing everyone else is, which is there was some abdominal injury, but he looked like he was good practicing. It's what you were talking about before. It's always hard to tell before majors how much of this is precautionary. You'll win more money for winning a couple of rounds than you will for tournaments. This is what these are the 10 poles. How much of these are serious injuries? How much of this is just, I want to be as close to 100%? I'm going to work on the assumption he's okay. I'm basing that, so it's like Facebook, no fact checking. I'm basing this on Twitter and Instagram, but he does seem to be okay.
All right. And Kyrgios, does his stomach muscle feel better because he's not playing Mensik?
No Mensik. No checks in the area.
Do you think Kyrgios plays, and do you think does he get to Zverev?
Hot take?
Sure.
How often does this happen? Serious question for you. How often does a player wait to see their draw before making a decision?
Rarely.
So if Kyrgios had to play, pick your poison, he had to play a seed first round and said, there's no way in hell I'm beating Taylor Fritz in my compromised physical state in a best of 5 match. He pulls, and if he says, I've got, a British player barely in the top 100, maybe I can play myself into this tournament. Does that ever happen, that a player waits until the draw to make the decision?
Not normally. But also it normally doesn't happen that you play a match a couple of weeks before a slam, say it'll be a miracle if I actually make it there because of how my wrist felt, and then play a doubles match the next day. That rarely happens also. So I don't know. There are a lot of question marks, none of which surround Nick's talent or his ability to knock off the best players in the world. In full flight, he's the last guy you'd want to see if you were one of the top players in the world. Is he healthy? Where's his level at? And is he fit enough to play 3 out of 5 sets? That was a question in the best of times with Nick. So assuming Zverev, I'm assuming you have Zverev going past Art Phils?
I do, but reservedly. And I will say that it's exactly what you said. In the best of times, you couldn't count on Kyrgios' durability holding up, and these are not the best of times. That said, look at this draw, and if Zverev is in fact compromised, this could be an interesting week one for Nick Kyrgios.
Yeah, it's interesting because he has matches that he can win with Baez. I mean, I don't know that he could have gone into, and this is no disrespect to Sebastian Baez because he's kind of the opposite of Nick in a lot of ways, right? He's someone who has carved out an unbelievable career, has probably approached Nick's career high at some point of 13, maybe just shy of that. I'm sure he's been around 15, 16, 17. I don't know if we can check that, but uber professional. You're not worried about him being prepared. Is kind of stays under the radar. But if you had to choose a seed, if you're Nick Kyrgios, to play second round, the matchup against Baez with the way that you serve versus the way that he plays on a hard court is probably the one you would choose. And then listen, we talk a lot about Nick, but when he plays the top players, he shows up. When there's not the pressure set of disappointment, he shows up as his full self. So as far as draws go, if you're Nick Kyrgios, you're seeing this and going, oh, this is me time. Like this is, no disrespect to the other three players, to get him to Zverev, leaps and bounds with talent, the most talented player in the section. And then he gets the show, right? He gets the Zverev, the number 2 in the world, where he can do all of the things without a lot of downside, right? And so as far as draws go, this has to be something that Kyrgios that goes down easily, right? That he digests as a show opportunity. I still like Zverev through to the quarters. I need to think a little bit about Paul Zverev there, but let's do what we do and go back. I already kind of ruined this part because I said I'm taking Sinner to the semis when I shouldn't have in the first segment, but it could have been worse. Mike could have told me to just shut up and go to break. He didn't. Even though,
but we probably should right now.
Fuck off.
All right, and we're back.
So you want to do it all now?
Yeah.
You want to get us out of break? You want to get us back from break?
I mean, somebody has to put this train back on the tracks.
God. Guy's literally been able to spell tennis for like 6 months. Producer Mike, who do you like between Sinner and Demon, and why?
Sinner, because it's obvious.
Fair enough. It's about as good as I could have done there.
Seriously.
Who do you like, JW?
I'd say Sinner because it's obvious. No, I just think it's a bad matchup. A lot to admire about Demon, but I don't think he beats Sinner.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we'll continue to talk about with Sinner. Is like Demon, we talk about what are the best parts of him, and he falls into the legacy and the reputation of Australian tennis in such a great way, right? If we look at all-time good dudes, Laver, Rosewall, and guys that played hard, that you wanted to see, that made you happier when you were in their presence. Pat Rafter, I love Pat Rafter. Leighton Hewitt is the grittiest person I've ever been around in my entire life. And Demon does a tip of the cap and does a service to those players that have come before him as far as Australian tennis greats. That being said, if you look at what he does well, hits a flatter ball, is able to take it early. His wheels might be the fastest person outside of Monfils in a 100-yard dash. And at this point, maybe the fastest person, maybe an Alcaraz, but you get my point. Top 5 fastest players on tour as far as movement and wheels, never takes a day off, always shows up. Played the last 5 months of last year extremely compromised, and he didn't talk about it, right? Didn't play from Wimbledon, the US Open, came up and played, made World Tour finals for the first time. I love the Demon. I have so much respect for the Demon. That being said, you look at what he does well, and then you look across the net and see Sinner and say, oh, he does all of those things probably better. And more often, and might have too much firepower there. So no disrespect for Demon, regardless of producer Mike's analysis. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say I like Jannik Sinner to the semis. In this next half, we have Medvedev and Fritz. You can go first, JW.
I couldn't do Nakashima. I think it's very similar. I think Fritz has really established himself as a player worthy of his seeding, which is now up to number 4. I think, unfortunately, jumping the gun, not unlike Demon, it's just not a great matchup for him against Sinner as the last.
Sorry, you took Fritz over Medvedev.
Yeah, Fritz over Medvedev.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Sinner, the matchup. You go on now with your point with Sinner and Fritz, because I think I'm going to be right behind you on it.
No, I think Taylor Fritz is capable of winning a major. I just think that the draw did him no favors, and it's really going to be a tough matchup for him. It's hard to sort of look at X's and O's and game plan a scenario in which he beats Sinner.
Yeah, and I think you look at the top half of the draw, a lot of really fun, exciting storylines that aren't going to be talked about enough, like a Berrettini-Norrie first round. These are two guys that have been top 10 and made semis and finals of slams very recently. The Tsitsipas Mickelson matchup, Hachinov is always there. Zizou Bergs is exciting to watch, but then you get down to Fritz's section where you're looking at Pechi Pericard, Monfils, Shelton, Nakashima. Shapovalov is exciting. Mussetti's exciting. Rublev Fonseca. This is definitely the most exciting section to me. The top half of the draw is very, very, very exciting. Francis is like Showtime. He's like the popcorn maker, right? I mean, he's there all the time. That being said, I'm in the same spot. I like Fritz. He's become 2 years ago, we have this conversation, and it's Fritz is great, but have we seen him do this at a major? And now it's as if we've seen him do it at a major. We see him do it every week. You know what you're getting with him all the time. And he flipped the script on matchups against Zverev's and against Medvedev's last year, right? He used to come up on the shorter end of those more often than not. And I think he flipped that last year. That being said, and we've talked about it on this podcast, especially post-US Open, 2 very convincing wins at World Tour Finals for Sinner. I think they might have been the same scoreline, a 3-4, 4-3, something like that. Same sort of scoreline at the US Open. It's tough to go through Jannik Sinner, right? You can't just beat him for pace. 1, he hits it as hard as you. 2, he has more margin because there's more shape. And he can get out of the corners and defend better if you do beat him to the punch, which is tough for Taylor Fritz. I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, I don't know that I can have more respect for what Taylor Fritz has done, right? I don't know that he's going to be an elite mover. His ball striking is through the roof. He expects to be where he's at. I have so much respect for Taylor, and something I can relate to from my own career. It's just a brutal matchup in this specific thing. It doesn't mean you're not doing something right. It doesn't mean you're not putting in the yards. It doesn't mean you're not putting in the work. This matchup specifically with Fritz and Sinner, should it happen, is just a very tough one for Taylor Fritz. And I would be fascinated to be in the room with Mike Russell and Paul Annacone as they're trying to problem solve this matchup, which on paper and with recent history has been a very, very tough one. But listen, the fact that we're kind of in this section with a lot of really, really, really tough matchups, players, we're both pretty comfortably putting Taylor in the semis, I think, is a tip of the cap to his progress over the last 18 months, 2 years, 3 years.
That's really well said. I hope I'm not speaking out of school, but a few years ago, we were talking to Annacone and said, realistically, how good is this kid? And Paul said, really, really good. This guy can win majors. And we really? Because his results haven't quite been there. And he said, I'm telling you, this guy will be outworked by no one. He gets mad at himself. And Paul was sort of, and I don't think that's necessarily, you take a look at nice looking guy and he's got the Hugo Boss. You don't think of him as necessarily a grinder. And this was 3, 4, 5 years ago. Paul was saying this guy has got what it takes. And Paul was 100% correct.
He doesn't take weeks off either. He loves, like, you worry about some people entering too many tournaments, and I think the conversation is a valid one around Alcaraz, right? They play too much, too little. It seems like he needs to be fresh and motivated and needs the canvas to be nice, not to Van de Zandschulp, right? I think Taylor Fritz, he's like, oh, he's playing another tournament. It's like, all right, that's what he does. That he's like Cal Ripken, like he shows up, he's out at shortstop. A lot of credit to him. I really have a lot of respect for Taylor Fritz. All right, I have these two crazy, in the next section, I have these two crazy guys in the quarters named Novak and Chuckster Alcaraz. I went crazy. And JW went a little safer with Lehechka and Korda. So in the battle of your Titans, who gets to the semis here? JW, Lehechka or Korda?
The big variable is health.
Ooh.
I'm all in on Sebastian Korda, and if Novak won this whole tournament, it would surprise us, or at least should surprise us, not in the slightest. I don't care what his age is. His track record is what it is. At some point, Father Time does his little Tarantella dance on everyone, and it's kind of feeling like we're at that point. So I don't want to dismiss Novak out of hand. Again, he could win this tournament, and we'd say, you know what? How could we have been so dumb to bet against him? But I think
speak for yourself.
I think it's time for some new blood. Sebastian Korda is my short answer.
Gosh, so in sections with Opelka, Mahach, Lehechka, Dimitrov, Draper, Alcaraz, Korda's your guy.
I mean, the Alcaraz is obviously the one that stands out, but
there's a lot that stands. Novak, sorry. Good. I like it. I like it when you get nutty. I like it when you get crazy, JW. Take off that jacket.
Sebastian
You're ready to
Korda.
party.
When Novak beats Alcaraz in a classic, we can all have a good laugh at this. But I think Sebastian Korda is a player to watch.
I fully agree with player to watch. Also, it's just, is this the one? I don't know that I'm there yet. It's weird. I was about to say Alcaraz hasn't played anything, got a late shutdown, started training camp, but has bought himself a full offseason by not playing anything into the lead up of Australia. Sinner didn't do it last year. Medvedev didn't do it last year. I think I used to give a lot of credit to it, but I think that was probably based in me projecting my own insecurities for my career where I needed reps onto other players, which apparently doesn't matter that much. We in Alcaraz, maybe he wants a tournament before, but we have to remember, before he won the French last year, he barely played the clay court season. He played in Madrid a couple of matches, didn't really play anything else, and we all know how Roland Garros ended up. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to go out on a limb and take Alcaraz in the final. Nuts. Crazy.
Going for the career major.
I'm going to take Alcaraz to the finals. Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, to the semi. Sorry. To the final. I'll get him there. I'm going to take Tommy Paul to the semis, not because I think he wins a matchup head to head with Zverev, but just because I think the opportunity to get upset along the way and the fact that we don't know Zverev's injury situation in full means that I'm hedging against him getting there, which, I want to choose the person who I think is most likely to get there, not who I think will win in a given matchup, Paul versus Zverev. If they both get to that quarter, I'll probably choose Zverev heads up. But right now, as we stand with the uncertainty around Zverev's body and injury, I'll take Paul, but I am taking crazy. I know. I got Sinner Alcaraz. I have Sinner winning this tournament.
So you're taking the top seed and the top seed
on both sides.
But I can't mock you. I can't mock you because I am too. It's supposed to be bad time for incumbents globally, but in tennis, I think we both are going with incumbents. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot can happen. We're a long way away from the days of a big three. A lot of variables, a lot of externalities. Zverev could win this tournament. He could also go down and in the first round. But I'm with you. I think Sinner is your defending champion.
No. Go ahead.
Wait, so do you have Korda in the finals?
No.
JW?
You have Korda in the finals.
Korda and Madison Keys are my off-the-board picks. I think Korda, I'm big on Korda. You probably gathered that over the last hour.
Because his father's from CZE?
Well, I was 20, and was a champion 26 years ago.
He was.
27 years ago.
So, just a quick...
routed one of the most lopsided Grand Slam finals in history, 2-2-2 over Marcelo Rios.
Ooh.